to say that we just have video streams and agenda. We don't have Zoom links anymore. So maybe I will check into that for next meeting. And this one will
I'm
record it.
getting us live right now.
Great. Thank you, Diana. We should.
That's in my brain now.
In theory. All right, we good?
We are good.
Awesome. So we're gonna whip through this check-in and public comment really fast. I see no members of the public here. Is there anyone online who wants to speak?
I don't see anyone online.
Fantastic. We're gonna finish that on time. It's 4:05. We're getting ready. Is there anything to check in on? I got your email. Anything else to check in on?
Yes, one thing. So at our last policy meeting, the SCA joined us and asked if we could, they were requesting a meet and consult about policy JIC, before it goes to second reading. So if you remember, we already had one reading on it, our first reading, and we were set to have our second, and they wanted, to have a meet and consult. I did reach out after the meeting, and ask to set a date for that meet and consult and have not heard back yet. So what I would be inclined to do is tell them that our next board meeting is July 13th. And with the suggestion that if we don't have a meet and consult before then, we're just gonna move forward with the second reading
On the 13th.
on the 13th.
Excellent. Sounds good. Any concerns with that? Awesome. Moving on. School safety policy procedure discussion. I have been playing an exceedingly slow table tennis game of phone tag with Brian Mariano about that. I was supposed to talk with him to sort of figure out what their thoughts are on policies and procedures. I have not had that conversation. We're scheduled to talk on Thursday at 4:00. So I'll have that and I'm gonna bring that back unless anyone has heard anything else. I haven't seen any new emails or concerns being raised. School's out, so that kind of takes the pressure off for the immediate issue. But I think longer term, we should have to figure out where we were last time we talked about it was this isn't a policy that's a recommended policy or sample policy, or we have anything like policies. So we were gonna ask the safety committee, which has a nicer name than that. Yes,
Yeah.
about if they thought a policy was necessary. If my question was, is it even feasible to have a policy for the school that would meet the needs of all the different buildings, because they have different needs? And go from there. But first, or take our lead from them about if it's necessary or an importance, because we could put together a policy that says the building should be secure. But I don't necessarily think that would be it wouldn't be a real policy. It would like saying that our buildings are gonna be secure would make everyone feel good, maybe. But like, what would that mean? And again, I'm not sure we want to have written published policies about all of our safety protocols on the website. There's some safety concerns with that.
Yeah.
So I think we need to sort of take our lead from that committee and go from there.
Yeah.
As an
Yeah.
aside, I did, just out of curiosity, visit a number of other school sites to look at their policies, to see if there was anyone who had a policy somewhat related to, the concern that was being discussed, and I came up with nothing.
Yeah,
Because it's more,
Probably they're not
it's
gonna,
more of a procedure and
Right.
expectation,
Yeah.
right? And if someone feels that that procedure isn't being followed, then it would be directed to the superintendent, right?
but first the building administrator, then
Right,
then I would.
right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So that, so I think with that, gathering that information, then maybe we can reach out to the member of the public. Because they had a lot of specific information. You've reached out to them many times and sort of say we've explored this and this is the route we're going. But I can think of a lot of problems with publishing, like we can have a policy that says we're gonna have a safe school. I'm not sure that accomplishes anything.
I guess we could have a policy that says, well, that the schools will develop procedures.
We could do that.
And that would be the expectation that
Yeah.
each school building would develop procedures, but we're not, with the expectation and knowledge, we're not going public with those.
Exactly. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I think that's Awesome. We're now really on time. Going to, going to activity fees,
Oh, yeah, I think I did. So this one came up. Let me
I was
grab-
actually was gonna turn it over to you, see if you wanted to lead this, because you were the one who,
Yeah, Jeff and I met last year, and so I'll give you some of the background.
perfect.
With this. So initially what happened, is that the school has a new system in place to, collect fees from students, right? And so that system allows for, I would say, better tracking, right, of who's paid and who hasn't. And so in the past, perhaps there was a little bit of question over, academic clubs. And so students that were participating in academic clubs, specifically, some of the examples we were talking about are students that are in multi-clubs. So they were playing, and for example, they were playing basketball, and once basketball season would end, they would join the math club.
Sure.
And then when swimming started up, they would not be in the math club. So it was kind of like a flow in and out type club. Academic clubs. So they weren't collecting all the fees for it. So now that there is this expectation, because we have this new system, I mean, there always was the expectation, but now that it's able to be monitored a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
Tracking.
it's all part
Yeah.
of, what's the?
Our school.
Rev track.
Rev
all
track.
Rev track, yeah.
Yeah, because they can pull a roster out of it now. They can see who's paid, who hasn't, like all of that now is viewable. So now that's happened, the expectation is still there, but now that it's being monitored closer. So the question came to Jeff, there was a request for a meeting with Jeff and I to talk about it and to see if we can figure out a way to make student fees more inclusive versus prohibit, it's kind of seen as a barrier to participation. So the example we were given was the math club. There were, I believe, if I remember correctly, 4 or 5 people that stopped participating in the club because they had to pay the fees. So that's not what we want. And there's a few academic clubs. There's math, there's speech and debate. I can't read my own writing here. Decathlon.
Oh, yeah, the academic.
Academic decathlon. Yes, that's actually, that is what I wrote. Thank you.
I'm not looking at your writing.
No, but you actually, that's exactly, because now I can read that says academic. So the academic decathlon, service clubs don't currently pay fees. So the question was, should academic clubs fall into that? So this led to a bigger question at the time, the previous board discussed is what is going to be our stance on fees? So do we make clubs free? All clubs and activities free, and absorb that cost, which is over $100,000 that we collect in fees
Between athletics and
clubs.
clubs, yeah.
Yeah, so do we make that, is our stance going to be that clubs and activities are a part of your enrichment and your education, and do we make it free? Or do we had even batted around the idea of perhaps making one fee and you pay one time and you can do whatever you want. So that there would be a loss monetarily, but when we asked Kate about this, the financial impact, it's such a small piece of the budget. It's not something we couldn't absorb. But
Yeah, and I have experience with that move in particular. So that, and it probably cut the amount of revenue that was generated through fees by about 50%, maybe 60%. But basically it's a one-time activity fee that you pay at the beginning of the year, and it's on, it's like all you can eat buffet.
But it's fewer.
You can play one sport, 2 sports, 3 sports. It does encourage being a multi-sport athlete, which was really nice, actually. The same with activities too. So you can do as many activities as you want. You pay once at the beginning of the year. Administratively, it's super nice because you're only collecting fees from students once every year.
Yeah, so it cuts down in other areas. Cuts down on the burden of staff in a lot of ways.
Right, it's just in terms of, like the, the administration of, and we had just have, so, I mean, obviously, like participation in Scarborough, yeah, we would maybe lose a few here and there, but kids are participating in so many things.
Yeah,
Like
we had
the
like 90%
participation
I was like,
rate is
this,
really,
you know,
really high.
This fee doesn't seem to be.
And there always has
No, it's
been, there is a provision to have fees waived for
Mhm.
students.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, for any fees that would be incurred in the district, can be waived,
Mhm.
Yeah,
by a building administrator.
yeah, and there's
So
like,
there doesn't have to be,
Doesn't have to be a
proof of-
big, it doesn't have to be.
right,
a
it's
big
not
thing.
like show me your free and reduced lunch paperwork, et cetera, et
It's
cetera.
not onerous.
it's just that there's like a little box.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
box to check.
Yeah,
Saying that you are requesting the fee to be waived, or you need financial assistance or something. And I don't know the exact wording, but, we certainly haven't blocked any student from participating.
Yeah, that was gonna be, and do
Yeah,
people
for
take advantage
financial
of that? Are there people who do take advantage of that? Do we have? a
I think
sense?
there are some, I mean, I don't have the data on today.
Yeah.
Because there's also this perverse incentive where if you pay to get into something, you may value that higher, even though I know parents are paying
Mhm.
it for middle schoolers,
Mhm.
but that sense of commitment can be heightened by.
Yeah, you have a
There's a lot
little
of research
stake in
on
it.
that.
Yeah.
Free is
Yeah.
not always-
Well,
That's the way
it's,
to
there's a
go.
perverse incentive,
Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
there, it goes both ways. I don't, and again, I really want it to be inclusive or whatever. I don't want there to be a barrier to any club. But I also want to make sure that, people understand and are valuing this, and it's not presenting a barrier if we have 90% participation.
well, yeah, I mean, it may be that they only choose one sport.
Well, yeah, I
versus
think the bigger problem is I choose the sport, but if I'm going to join the academic decathlon, but I'm also going to play football. If I join the academic decathlon late in the year, because I cannot do both during football season, then I still have to pay the full
Right,
fee.
right, yes. So you could do like an annual thing or in that by semester, whatever, semester. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
So this would be all activities, sports.
Yeah,
and-
there's 30 after-school clubs. There's all of the sports clubs, and this is at the high school level now. The middle, there's still stuff at the middle school in Wentworth as well that have participation, that have activities. The other thing in my mind, I wondered, and this is where I seemed to land when we were talking, is what if we had a fee for extracurriculars and athletics, that one-time fee, but then academics were free, academic and service were free.
I was gonna say is sort of like, if I'm thinking about. That was exactly what I was thinking, which is sort of looking at service clubs, we waive them because presumably that's community service, and so you're sort of. Investing in the community time and kind of volunteer time, and so that instead of making you pay to do that, you sort of allow people to do that. I would think academics would be more like that than like a sport where, again, my kids first in sports, we love sports, but sports is a plus activity, whereas academics and service is less.
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to charge a fee for academic decathlon or math club and debate? I mean, or like if we have, is there a subset of educational clubs that maybe should
What
have a
clubs
fee?
would be non-educational?
No, they're all educational,
Yeah,
but like academic. versus, like,
Academic, yeah.
Playing football
Right.
versus math. Math is something
See,
that.
this,
is
this
academic.
is where I really like the activity fee concept, because it takes away this we're gonna charge for, but not this,
Mhm.
and like it takes that away.
there's a
I mean,
sense of fairness.
Right, I mean, I would differentiate it a little bit, I think, between athletic, like an athletic fee. And then, an activity fee, maybe, I mean, you potentially could do that, but it
Well,
just.
we already do, because it's different, it's a different price.
But
Right.
once a year, not just. not-
I'm talking about just like the one-stop shopping, like, if you wanna do like extracurricular and activities, this is your yearly activity fee. If you wanna do sports, this is your yearly activity, sports fee, whether you play one season or 3 seasons. And that it encourages people to do multiple things. I mean, you're ultimately, collecting less. you know, because it's not like a la carte, like charging per sport or charging per activity or whatever, right? But,
And there's
But it
less
does-
of an admin cost.
Yeah.
Drag. So-
right, exactly, like you're only collecting at the beginning of the year and then you're done.
Could we bump them up and make them just one time?
Well, I
After
think what we're
78
gonna
now.
happen is the service clubs that currently don't pay fees, where this is gonna
Pull them in.
pull, well, it's gonna change, yeah, it's gonna pull them into a fee now, so we gotta keep that in mind, but I wonder,
Only if, a child is only during.
Only doing that.
Only doing the service club activity and nothing else, right?
right,
Say that again. And this.
only if they're participating in the service club only,
Would they?
Oh, yeah, okay.
because this is a la carte.
Cause,
Yeah.
yeah, cause then they don't have to, assuming they do nothing else that one.
Right.
My guess would be is that there's probably very few high school students that only do their community service club and nothing else.
Right,
Yeah,
And we have the waiver, we have a safety valve for folks
Yes.
who are like, I wanna continue doing the service club, but I can't afford
Right,
X amount of fee.
yes,
And again, I'm
100%.
hoping we're pretty generous with that.
yeah, I just think it's getting people to click it if it's and think like outside of even the free and reduced lunch, like maybe we have a family that the child is responsible for any fees that they incur, and that is something that's out of their budget, right? So that to me is a reason to click the
Yeah,
box.
it's a box right on
Yeah.
the family ID
Mhm.
registration.
Yeah,
I've seen.
so if we did,
So it's not
Yeah.
like they have to take an extra step.
right,
to
it's
figure it
part
out.
of the
It's
sign
added.
up process.
Yeah, they're, right.
Yeah. So if I think I can get behind what you're saying, the two, so an à la carte price for athletics and à la carte price for activities. No,
That's
that's,
what it
I
is
didn't read that
currently.
right. An all-inclusive price for sports and an all-inclusive price for
yeah,
activities.
we're going to the all you can eat
I
buffet.
said, we're at the beach club, and
That's
I
right.
have you for
You can have, you can have whatever you want. So now we just have to land on what that looks like. What that
Well,
price looks like.
Which
There
was my
must be
only
an-
requirement for the wedding, the reception, that was the only thing I waited on, it's like.
Of course
I
it
want
is.
the all you can eat buffet.
Oh, my
Other
God.
than that, like,
As if there's not enough food at weddings, right?
Not for Jeff.
I was at a wedding, we ran out
sometimes-
of food, it was not pretty, it was like, I'm surprised we didn't have a pig head on stick.
it's ugly.
We were at summer camp on top of the mountain, and there was no other food around.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
So what, I mean, is there, you want to do a one fee for all sports and activities or
Current.
one fee for activities, one fee for sports? Is that what you're asking? What, I mean.
Yeah,
like,
so
all inclusive.
initially I was thinking that my initial thought, but, well, let me tell you my two thoughts. My first thought is that I'm cognizant of what we're asking and how this would impact the taxpayer. So that's my first piece of
yeah.
my brain. My second piece of my brain, because essentially what we're doing is we're saying this is meaningful and important for our district, so we're going to fund it, right? That's what we would be saying if we made it
Yeah,
free.
yeah.
My other piece of my brain is saying, that, so because of that, I don't know that we can do what I want, which is what I would prefer to do is either go that route or make athletics a cost and make clubs and activities free. But I don't know that that's,
Yeah, I don't think.
I don't know that the fairness is there. So, yeah, so then I'm landing on the compromise, which is the one all-inclusive athletic fee, one all-inclusive activity
This
fee.
just depends if how many emails you'd like to answer.
Right. No. Yeah.
We definitely found that, I mean, I think participation, like it wasn't a barrier having the à la carte, like essentially like what we have now, like it's certainly with 90% of kids, like it's not a barrier right now, and it wasn't really a barrier when we made the switch in a previous job, but what it did do, it did encourage, I think, more kids to do more,
Mhm.
to get involved in other ways that maybe they wouldn't have,
Absolutely.
whether it's
Yeah, let's try
additional.
something new
There's
because
nothing
I don't have to
Right, or
pay.
whether it's additional
more.
clubs,
Mhm.
or whether it's even like, going from one or two sport athlete to, wanting our kids to be multi-sport athletes, which is,
Mhm.
Do you have a rough sense of how many kids are like, one athletic season and how many do multiple, or is it just, that's just a?
That's data we could get. We just
Yeah,
don't
that's
have it today.
Right. That's a big question.
I would like to know that because I don't really want to lose the income. I know it's a drop in the bucket, but I am thrifty and I'm part of the finance committee. So it's important to me that we ask people who are doing extra to pay their fair share, because we're asking a lot of people who don't have kids in the district to pay their fair
Mhm.
share, to try to spread that around. But if there's a way to sort of get a sense of, can we raise the fees a little bit to compensate for some of that? And then take away the cap, so this, the caps are gonna go away. It's gonna be one fee for athletics, one fee for activities. But if we could get a sense of how much the loss would be from that 1 to 3,
Yeah,
could we, I mean, because we're gonna have more people paying who are just doing one thing,
Mhm.
paying, they're gonna be paying a little bit more. The rest of people are actually gonna save money, but it's gonna encourage more participation all the way around. So
yeah,
I think there's fairness there, but I
Yeah.
think we can increase the fees slightly, modestly. I know parents are gonna complain, but if you have a multi-sport athlete, you're not gonna complain, because it's not gonna be run.
You're going to be lowering your costs.
You're gonna
I-
lower your costs, yeah.
yeah, no, I had one call from a parent who had. Well, twins and then another child who was. Like a year younger or 2 years younger, and they were just gotten to high school age, and they were all 3-sport athletes.
Yeah,
That's
Oh.
expensive.
yeah.
And he's like, you just, with that change, and is it like you just cut. So it was some astronomical,
Yeah.
when it was like borderline like $4,000, like
Yeah,
down to, I don't
Yeah.
know, it's still like 500, but it was like, for 3 kids.
But much
it
more
was
manageable. Yeah.
400, but it's like. That, anyway, not that we have a lot of families that would necessarily fall into that category, but.
Well, when we had this meeting, I actually have a note down, and I don't know if it's still true today, but with her twins. 80% of our participants in extracurriculars are multi-club and sports students.
so most people are gonna save money.
Most people are going to save money.
So I
Well,
think we can justify raising that fee a little
Yeah.
bit to sort of offset some of that loss in revenue.
I mean,
Not trying to.
I
you
don't
know,
know
like, so if it's
I
60
can
bucks
check
for a
it, yeah.
sport or
It's
$100.
$100 for athletics and $50 for activities in high school. If we made it $150 for athletics and $75 for activities, and these are rough numbers, I don't know what the right number is, although we do have to figure it out. We're actually supposed to review the fees every year. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
we do that, but we
No,
are supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what would that be? I mean, we can sort of rough estimate numbers, but is there like some sort of way that we come to these numbers, or is it just sort of what we think sounds good to us?
Well, I wrote down, and these are, again, this is like my stuff, so these are just my thoughts. I wrote down like 25, 50, 75, $100. And then I said no fee just to see,
Mhm.
like, and then see what that tax impact is. So ask Kate to run those numbers. Like if we charged $25 for all inclusive, if we charged $50 for all inclusive.
I
These
would,
numbers have been in place since 2019.
Right, these have been in there for,
which you shouldn't have gotten a lot of revenue, because in 2020. you didn't-
So say there's been-
well, there was a lot, yeah, we had a lot for sure that year.
So 20 and
Well-
2021 was maybe
We still
impacted,
have activities.
Yeah, but we still had them,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah,
a
but it was-
loss, yeah.
Yeah.
not quite to the same level as before.
No.
So like, would the prices be like tiered? Is that what you were saying?
Well, I was saying, like, if we were trying to land on a number that seemed fair, like if we had to run, in my head, I just wrote this down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different models. So if we charge $25 all inclusive, if we charged $50 all inclusive, 75, 100, and then if we charge nothing.
I don't like your numbers, because they're all less. than
They're all
they are
low.
now. I want to go up a
Mhm.
little bit.
Mhm. The only one I worry about is the activities. I might push back, because again, we've got a group of people that don't pay anything right now that we're gonna start asking them to pay.
I mean.
So the activities one is good. Athletics, I think, is fine because most of them are multi-sport, according to what I have from last year, if that still holds true.
Yeah, well, let's get the data.
Yeah.
And then, you can make your decisions
Mhm.
based on, how that shakes out in terms of how many students were multi-sport athletes versus single sport athletes, how many students were single activities versus multiple
Mhm.
activities.
That would be a Mike question.
Yeah, so I can get that from.
Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna get that from Mike?
Yep.
And
And
then
then if we ask Kate to
Kate to
run
run the numbers.
numbers, but what numbers do we want to land? If we don't, like mine.
I'd like to see 150 for athletics. For the year. that's
For,
down
for
from
high
100.
school, I mean, it's just different at the different age.
Mhm.
Yeah,
right
but-
now.
Yeah, it might be different at the middle versus the
So
high.
150 at high school, right now it's 75 at the middle school, I'd
So-
say what about 100 for the middle school?
Yeah, like. it-
And then Wentworth, it's $25 for activity. Maybe $30, I mean, like, we don't have to go up a huge
Or
amount.
30.
Well, activities, again, I think activities,
You don't want to move back.
I don't wanna move activities.
So there's, you know, a limited number of slots at Wentworth. I don't know what, we could ask Kelly what kind of pressure that would put on those clubs and if they have the ability to accommodate you know.
More people.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe that they do have a ceiling,
Yeah.
right? Like in terms of how many students can be in.
oh, yeah.
The world language club
Mhm.
or.
Yeah.
you know,
They're like waitlisted like
Mhm.
in an hour.
Right.
Right, so that would be there even if this fee was the same, higher, lower, that
It
scenario.
doesn't change our ability to
Exactly.
take in more students.
Right,
Exactly.
so I mean, I don't know, I don't know if you just leave it 25 per activity at Wentworth.
Yeah, I think all of the activities at the Wentworth and middle school and the high school, I would not be, I don't think I would be for pushing any of them up. Because again, we have a group of students that we're now are gonna have to pay that don't,
Assuming they don't do anything else.
assuming they don't do anything else.
So have Kate read the numbers at what 150 for sport and 100 for sport.
And leaving these all
Yeah,
inclusive
thirty.
for, yeah,
I mean, I don't, yeah, we might just want to get the data and crunch the numbers.
that's what she says, that's what she's
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
That's awesome, and I want to know how many people are multi like activities, because if they're doing $100 for activities or
mhm.
$150 for activities. Going up to 75 for activities isn't gonna hurt them, it's gonna help everybody,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, right.
And again, don't want to make money off the students' backs, but also want people to be responsible or to pay for the things that they're taking advantage of. Instead of
Mhm.
spreading
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
across
because
everybody
these are, I
else.
mean, these
Yeah.
are huge benefits.
Yeah,
Also, want to put a plug in for the late bus. I don't know, I know that's like a thing, but we've got a lot of emails about the late bus. And I think we should start talking about, if we're talking about inclusivity, making sure that everyone can participate in the activities.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't disagree. I do have to say, though, we do not have drivers to do that. We don't.
I know,
And I don't see our driver situation changing. In fact, you know, we're probably losing a couple of drivers. And so
until we have enough drivers and stuff. So once we have enough
right
drivers.
now
we'll
we're
get to
down, I believe, 5 drivers.
yeah, it was, there was like.
We
combination.
have, we contract with an outside company on a
Mhm.
regular basis
Mhm.
the
to do what
coverages.
we're doing right
Charter
now.
buses,
Yeah.
and even the
Right.
charter buses.
And I think that, you know, the idea of a late bus is a great one,
Yeah,
but you can't just have one late bus for this community. It is so widespread.
yeah,
Mhm.
Right? So because if I was the late bus driver and I was picking up at the middle school, for example,
You don't want to go. all
what's
way.
the right time to
Yeah.
pick up, number one, because not all
Yeah,
activities
changes.
end at the right time, at the same time. And then I do pick up and let's say I've got a student on the Buxton line and I've got a student at Prouts Neck.
Oh, yeah, no, and you
Right.
will, you will,
yes.
yeah.
I mean-
But I think we should look
Yep.
for it, because I think that is a barrier. And we're
Mhm.
hearing about that being a barrier.
Yes,
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
if people can help us employ more
Bus
people,
drivers, drive the bus.
I think that we would be open to that conversation, but we are
Struggling with
not
buses, yeah.
able to fulfill our current needs.
Do we have like do they do exit interviews? I'm assuming they do, like what's driving people out?
People
No pun
aren't
intended.
necessarily leaving because they're unhappy. I mean, like, we have long-standing drivers,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah,
you can only drive
So.
for as long as you probably want to be employed.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, I think our bus driver is like retired,
Right?
he's like the best.
You have to be able to pass a physical,
Yeah,
right? Like, there are requirements.
yeah.
so
That
it's more of like, we don't know what's not driving people in.
Yeah, we just aren't getting people to come
Okay.
here.
I think it's just
And
a,
that is not a Scarborough
no,
problem.
no, it's
I see
a,
the
That
big
is,
bus
there
out
are
in
no
South
CDL
That's
licensed
everywhere
drivers
problem.
in any
Yeah.
industry right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, CDLs
Right.
are
now,
premium.
yeah.
CDLs are premium.
CDLs are very hard to find. And most of the time when we are hiring drivers right now, we are hiring unlicensed drivers and we are training them and they're driving a van for us or doing other work for
To
us.
get them.
Because
Until
we,
they get-
we license them ourselves.
Yes.
Mhm.
We have a certified trainer, we put them through the training, but to get a CDL, it takes 4 to 6 months. Months.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
you know, like we interviewed some folks last week to be able to bring those people on.
That's
It's
a
4 to
huge
6
investment.
months.
It's a
It's
huge
a,
investment.
it's a huge
It's a
investment.
huge amount, and then they
Right?
walk away because you can make a lot more
Yeah.
money doing long haul trucking.
Yep.
And you can get hired with a CDL anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you just
it's,
drive around, there's $5,000,
Mhm.
$20,000 bonuses
yeah,
for people who have a CDL
Have a
already.
CDL.
Yeah,
yeah,
So, you know, we're very open to training people, but there just are not
they're not coming in.
seemingly people who are excited to drive 60 to 80 kids around twice a day.
With all the problems.
Really? I
Yeah,
can't imagine,
well,
It's
that's
a
what I
cushy
was.
job, man.
Mhm.
you
Oh
know,
my
if
God,
you're
I don't know.
deaf or hard of hearing, yeah, that's the crowd you
Yeah,
need
there
to
you go.
employ.
Yeah, yes.
Jeez.
I'm not kidding.
And then there were other pieces, right? Because
Yeah.
contractually, they,
Yeah,
you know, their
yeah.
contract ends at a certain time of day.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. I mean, these are people who are at the bus barn at 6:30 in the morning,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? They're working half of a shift and then having some free time
And
and then
coming
working
back
the
for
other
another
half
shift,
of their shift.
which makes their
Right,
work.
but their
day-
work day is supposed to end at 4:30.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
their
so
contract.
really the late start, like if, or the late bus, if we were to even have if we were fully, and all the things worked out and we were able to even consider this, we would be paying overtime. Because they would have already met their
That's correct.
shift
And they're-
requirements.
We don't
So
know if they'd be
2000
even interested.
No,
There was a
well, right
while
now
ago, we
we
did
can't.
have a late bus for a year, maybe
When you
some
were in Falmouth?
change. No, a year in Scarborough. I was talking to Sarah about it a long time ago though. It was like. Or not that long ago. I think I want to say it was.
Not
maybe
during the time
07
I
or-
was
I think
here.
it was 07 or 08. Maybe.
Did it work?
Well. Not really, and there was actually less than, like, it started out, even when we started it, I think there was less than 6 kids. And then it was down to like 1
That's
within a
not-
couple of months. It
that's
just, and part of the problem, was to, I think, you know, what Diane was talking about is that we've got a pretty big town. And so we had preset stops.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like, I mean, parents
Not
still
to
had to
your house.
go,
Not at
right?
your house,
Right,
Yeah, you're not going door to door, so parents still had to get, you know. Get to the stop where
Yeah.
the late stop was, and obviously now it's like, it's so variable when kids are. Ending different activities, it would, you know, it's not consistent, you know, for timing, so it just wasn't.
Right, because if
There
you
wasn't
have
the
the early
demand.
practice versus the late practice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
That
Like
totally
we
makes sense,
share
yeah.
fields.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then so they just stopped it because there's nobody riding.
and yeah, that's a good, that's your answer, which is we tried it and it didn't work.
yeah.
Well, I mean, probably because they had to still go, you know, like, I think it was. I think I remember it being, like, Beach Ridge Motor Speedway was like a stop for something.
There were 5 or 6 different stops, yeah, around
Yeah.
town,
Parents were like, I might as well just go pick them
just
up.
go pick them up at the
Yeah.
school.
I mean, in South Portland, they could drop us off and there were sidewalks, we could walk home.
Yeah,
All right, so I will add the annual fee review to August because that feels like a good time
That
because
sounds
it's
great.
right before
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
And then, I know you're gonna write Kate.
Yep.
Right, and you're gonna write Mike, and then we'll reconvene.
That sounds good.
All right, so I'm moving on to the next thing, unless we have anything else we want to talk about.
Hold on. What other solutions would there be for that? We could maybe discuss that some other time,
Late bus, I took, that was a tangent that I took us on.
Yeah.
I apologize.
that's okay, so
All right, so. We had anything?
So we're good.
Does anybody here, I mean, I don't think we have anything to discuss on the
Mhm.
JK, JKD, JKE, JKER. That's the student and social suspension, expulsion guidelines.
Nope.
All right,
Oh.
so then moving on to J policies to work on, we have 2 left
Mhm.
in our list. That is, JKEF.
Yep.
JKF and
I'm
JKR.
gonna take the notes inside the.
JKF is
You want it? You got it?
Sure. This is was
very short and sweet.
It's 2020.
Disciplinary removal of students with disabilities. This statute, there's not a lot to talk about. It's
No.
all
Yeah.
statutory.
No.
Yeah,
Or this policy. We need to change the policy of the school unit name to Scarborough School Department. I think that's it, but I'll just read it while we're getting it out. But when removing students with disabilities from their regular school programs, whether as a result of a suspension, an expulsion, or any other removal covered by state or federal special education laws, it shall be the policy of Scarborough School Department to comply fully with all applicable state and federal special education laws that govern such removals. Yes, we should follow the law. And then the second, the superintendent of schools in consultation with the director of special education and other school administrators may develop and promulgate procedures for implementing this policy and may from time to time amend those procedures as necessary.
The first one's a shall, right? 'Cause they
Um,
should develop the procedures. But they may amend them.
May develop, no, it's may, hold on. No, the superintendent's in consultation may develop and promulgate procedures for implementing this policy and, it should be shall, you're right. It
Yeah,
should be
shall and may.
Shall and may, so that first may should be a shall. Shall develop and promulgate procedures for implementing this policy and may amend them as necessary, that's, yeah. I don't think there's a lot to talk about, anybody have any feedback, comments?
no,
Mm-mm.
Moving to JKFR. This one I will read, as soon as Diane gets there and is. Yeah, just give her a couple seconds, this one's longer, that is a pretty color. And just so everyone knows, the links go to, there's a folder in policy, says policies under development or review, that's where I'm housing them.
Yeah.
I also, is anyone okay with me like deleting policies that haven't been touched since like 2018 from that folder? Do you want to keep stuff? I can make an archive folder.
Well, I was gonna say, can't,
Yeah, don't delete anything.
put it in, yeah,
I'll archive it,
but as soon as they're. From now on, as soon as they're.
done, I can move them
You
out.
can move them to the archive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect, all right, that's what I'll do, just because I don't like untidy folders.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of old stuff in here.
There's a lot. of what's in there.
I did, can we go on a tangent for just a second?
Sure.
I did start under. Just really quickly, under other folders, I'm just trying to pick one quickly so that I can show you. I started making year folders and dropping them
nice.
in that way.
yeah,
So, you might be able to do the same. I think once,
well, if it's on the spreadsheet, that year, it should
I'm
be.
just trying to find one quickly, and of course.
I
can't-
already
but-
did that for the agendas, for the policy agendas, I
Yeah.
made them by year. because I
Yeah,
don't
so
like-
maybe like the archive policy under review folder, whatever you're gonna call it, then years underneath.
Okay, I'm happy
Sorry.
doing that, I just don't want to leave them all hanging out. All right, back to disciplinary removal of students with disabilities and administrative procedures. These procedures shall govern disciplinary removals of students with disabilities from the regular school program. These procedures shall be interpreted in a manner consistent with state and federal special education laws and regulations. Lawyers write stupid things sometimes. Oh, the policies have to follow the law, that's.
Mhm.
All right, A, school administrators may suspend students with disabilities for up to 10 cumulative school days in the school year under the same terms and conditions as students without disabilities are suspended, subject to the limitations set forth below. 1, in the event that a disabled student's IEP specifically lists a school response other than a suspension that must be followed for a particular type of misconduct, the school administrator shall follow the requirements of the IEP and respond to that misbehavior. 2, when calculating the 10 cumulative school days total, school administrators shall include school days spent on an in-school suspension or removal, unless during that removal, the child continued to have access to the general curriculum, to the special education services in his or her IEP, and to participation with non-disabled children to the extent he or she would have it in the student's regular program. We have been changing he and she's to there. I'm not sure if we care to do
Yeah,
that, but
yeah,
there's
yeah.
2 places in number 2 that we could do that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
these are,
The shall.
changes. No, I mean, these are changes from the.
Oh, from the
current-
current,
Yeah,
yeah, this is the new statute, there's a new
Yeah.
statute.
Yeah.
right.
So. Alright, B, after a student with a disability has been removed from his or her current placement for 10 cumulative school days in the same school year, During any subsequent days of removal, the school administrator shall consult with at least one of the student's teachers and then shall arrange for the student to receive a level of educational services during the removal sufficient to enable the student to continue to participate in the general curriculum, although in another setting, and to progress towards meeting the goals listed in the student's IEP. So there's one, his, her, which would add Diane already changed. C, within 10 school days of any decision to quote unquote change the placement of a student with a disability because of a violation of a code of student conduct, school officials shall hold an IEP team meeting to undertake the following. 1, the team shall review all relevant information in the student's file, including the IEP, any teacher observations and recent evaluations. 2, the team shall then, can we think the team are not capitalized?
Yeah, yeah.
Team is, yeah.
The team shall then undertake a manifestation determination to decide whether the student's misconduct was a manifestation of his or her disability. Perfect, thank you. 3, if the team, the employers and their capitalization's out of control. If the team determines that the misbehavior is a manifestation of the disability, the team must either A, conduct a functional behavior assessment unless one had been conducted before the behavior incident, and shall implement a behavior intervention plan for the child, or B, if a behavior plan has already been developed, review the plan and modify it as necessary to address the behavior. Good, Diane?
I'm good.
Except as provided in D below, and take the period off. of D,
Periods
please.
out, yeah.
The team must also return the student to the placement from which he or she was removed unless the school and parent agree to a change of placement as part of the revision of the behavior plan. So there's the D period, the team's capitalized and the he, she. Got it. Perfect. 4, if the team, at least they're consistent, determines that the misbehavior is not a manifestation of the disability, school personnel may apply the relevant disciplinary procedures in the same manner and for the same duration as the procedures would be applied to students without disabilities, except that services must be provided to the student during the disciplinary removal consistent with 5 period C below. You just take the periods out of that.
Well, and the parentheses too.
Actually, it should be 5 and then parentheses around the C because that's a subsection. So it'd be 5 parentheses C. Yeah, that's how you write it. 5, when a student with a disability has a disciplinary removal that would be a quote unquote change of placement, the IEP team shall order services for the student that will enable the student to A, continue to participate in the general curriculum, although in another setting. B, progress towards should be an S, meeting the goals in the IEP. And C, receive as appropriate a functional behavior assessment and behavior intervention services and modifications that are designed to address the behavior violation so that it does not reoccur. Reoccur spelled
Reoccur
so
spelled wrong.
badly. It's using an O and a C. Thank you. Awesome. 6, for purposes of this section, a quote unquote change of placement occurs if A, the removal is for more than 10 consecutive school days. Or B, the student has been subject to a series of removals that constitute a pattern and 1, because of the series of removals totals more than 10 cumulative days in the school year. 2, because the child's behavior is substantially similar to the behavior in previous incidents resulting in their series of removals. And 3, because of additional factors such as length of each removal and the total length and the proximity of the removals to each other. That was horrifically drafted. And we might need to come back to that. Like, that is just terrible drafting. Let me just think for a second. Or B, situation of that, and 1. I don't think so. I think it's taken directly from the statute, but the way that they've like delineated it is just makes it really hard to read.
Yeah,
I think I have my book with me if you want to pull it up too.
the series has been submitted.
I know, I always find mine too, always until recent.
I think we can write it, so like the child has been subject to a series of removals that constitute a pattern and this, and the colon. 1, the series of removals totals more than 10 cumulative days in the school year. I think we should restate and, because it's clear that it's all 3 of these conditions have to be met. So, and 2, the child's behavior is substantially similar to the behavior in previous incidents resulting in the series of removals. And three, there are additional factors such as length of each removal, the total length, and the proximity of the removals to each other. And I think there should be a statement saying that that would constitute a pattern, because what it's trying to do is describe a pattern. It's trying to define pattern in here.
Well, right, but basically what it's trying to say is that you could have one removal that is more than 10 days. Or you
Or
could have
a pattern.
like a pattern of removals that equal more than 10 days that are similar in nature and. There you go.
Or. Right, so there.
What if you just get rid of the word becauses,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the causes?
Yeah.
That's, yeah, I like that. Serving. So for the club, it's changing the whole dynamic of this.
I just don't sure.
D,
Actually-
just maybe instead of the, instead of because of.
I think we could, so I think we could rewrite it. So B would be, there is a series of removals that constitute a pattern, comma, because then the colon. The
Yeah.
series of removals totals more than 10 cumulative days in the school year. And the child's behavior is substantially similar to the behavior in previous incidents resulting in the series of removals. And if there are additional factors such as length of each removal and the total length of the removals. I think we have to define the total length of removals and the proximity of the removals to each other. Does that make sense? Because I don't think it substantively changed anything, but I think it clarifies it.
Okay, so what I heard you say so far.
Yeah.
Is that, so we're striking out the beginning of B and we're just going to write, there is a series of removals that constitute a pattern.
And then at the top, instead of the and, put a comma after pattern and then put because, so
Yeah.
put because there. So it'd be a comma and then because.
Because series of rules. Yeah,
And then one would be the series of removals totals. Yeah, perfect.
the child.
We got Misha. Yeah, so then- So more than 10 days in the school year. Child's behavior is substantially similar to the behavior in schools. I would put an and after one. I know it's repetitive, but I think we need to be clear that this is all.
Yes, not
cut
or.
together. It's not ors, it's ands. And then the third one I would change to say, I take the book, I would remove because and add there are. Or
Yeah.
there exists, actually, I put there exists.
Additional factors exist.
Yes, perfect. Additional factors exist. And then comma, because it's about to do a list. I like lists, but not like this. This is too many lists. Additional factors exist, such as length of each removal, the total length of removals. I would put of removals in there because it's perfect. Yeah, and the proximity of the removals to each other, and then period. Perfect. The period's there. I think that reads a little nicer.
I mean, it's gonna be wordy because it's statute, right?
Yeah, but this is someone trying to break down the statute into
Yeah.
elements and however they just, the
Mhm.
becauses are. too many.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was very hard reading.
You didn't know that in law school, I did my final project on legislative drafting. Did you?
What she did.
Sounds Riveting. Riveting.
I love policies and procedures. I've been told everybody that. I do, but yeah, I think that reads a little nicer. All right, then going to D. In those circumstances where a student brings a weapon to school, to a school function or on the school premises, including transportation, where a student knowingly possesses, uses, sells, or attempts to sell illegal drugs at school, a school function, or on school premises, including transportation, or when the student inflicts serious bodily injury upon another person while at school, a school function, or on school premises, including transportation, there should be a comma. School officials may place that student in an alternative educational setting for up to 45 school days. shall provide educational services for the student consistent with 5, and then we should put that parentheses around the C again. 5C above, and shall schedule an IEP team meeting to occur within 10 school days of commencing that removal. At that meeting, the team, lowercase, shall undertake all necessary actions discussed in the procedures for responding to removals that constitute a change of placement for the student. Any further removals in response to the incident shall be made consistent with these procedures and state and federal special education rules.
So my only question here is with the other, one of the other policies we just reviewed is, do we want to include sport athletic fields? So on school premises, including transportation and athletic fields?
Well, athletic fields are on our school premises. Our buses aren't always on our school premises.
Yeah.
Because buses move.
And it covers school function, which I think will be,
Yeah.
function is what we added,
Yeah,
like
that's what
including
we-
school events.
Any
Yeah,
school
But a
event.
school function, I think, covers it, but I think
Yeah.
that's a good catch. I think that was, we did do that in that last statute.
Yeah.
So.
All right, any?
I can be like Joanne's got a question for.
Well, I was just gonna say, is there a better way to say school function? Instead of function, maybe a different word.
School event,
That
a
was-
school
that-
sponsored event.
Well,
That's what we
no,
use.
we
now.
already-
Yeah, we don't want to get into school sponsored.
Yeah.
All right, then the school function.
Okay.
There's not a lot of comments here either because this is
It's
legislative.
all
advice,
legislative.
so.
All right. Any other comments?
Yeah, there could be a space under.
Oh,
Did
we
I
have the
miss a
space
space?
queen. We have the space
Under-
queen with
under
us today.
6B3.
Six B three.
That's more than the copy.
I missed a space. I can't believe it. 6B3. Oh, there is. 3, right where you're 6B3, there needs is. Right here.
Right above D.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
To make it
Yeah.
Good job,
Well, I
Julie.
can't even
It
believe I
depends
missed it.
I can't believe
My
either.
whole,
Shocked.
that's
You
what
were
I
doing it in
do.
real time.
Well, it must be because it must have, yeah, I think it happened on typing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, sweet.
Let's see.
We're ahead at the moment. Do I keep
Yeah.
moving forward?
Well, yeah, because we wouldn't mind having a little time between the meetings.
All right,
Yeah,
and
I'd love
keeping
to-
that in my head. CBIP realigning the superintendent goal setting with the new election cycle, which requires policy change.
Oh, yes.
My suggestion is to have a superintendent goal setting workshop at our first September meeting. I had brought the policy because I have stopped trying to follow on my computer because it hurts my brain.
Mhm.
So the purpose of the superintendent's evaluation is multifaceted. That's a great word. I love that word. It's not spelled right, but it's really beautiful here. It should be FAU, I think. To determine how successfully the superintendent has carried out assigned responsibilities determined by the job description, to establish mutually agreed upon goals and objectives, to measure the overall progress of the superintendent in accomplishing previously agreed upon goals and objectives, to assess demonstrated ability, is it?
Yeah.
That's weird to me. That's fine.
That's next spelled.
To assess the,
I'm
I'm
not
wrong.
thinking of faucet like a kitchen faucet.
I like those as well,
Multifaceted, too.
but that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, this is a different faucet.
It's a different facet. To assess demonstrated ability, critical job function.
Is he a plumber?
Uh, So it says the board and superintendent will meet and set goals and objectives for the next fiscal year no later than the last business day in June.
Yeah. So this is where we have to change.
So do we want to change it to September or August? When do we want to change it to?
So,
I don't know what makes sense, to be honest.
yeah,
Teenagers is.
what do you think, Jeff?
And I would propose that we're gonna do this in 2024. We're not gonna do it next. Just.
Well, I think so we still have to set goals for this year.
Okay, okay. It's not the eval, because it's. I was
No, because
confused by
well,
that.
I think the evaluation stays in June, right? I think that's what we had discussed because
No,
it'll.
no, no, we were gonna move it down to May.
Oh, that's, you're
We're
right.
Pick it a little earlier.
Yeah, you're right. I
Not
apologize. Yeah.
conflict
Let
with-
me pull up the.
In the school year fun times.
Yes, okay,
Jason
so,
was weird on this to me too. There's like a drop, there's like a,
There is.
like, what is it, a hanging? Whatever.
so we actually said to start the process in April or May.
We were gonna start the process in April and the goal would be to have it done by May.
Oh,
Yeah.
But it would, but
I
the,
put it in May already.
but
Yeah.
I think, like,
It gives us a little buffer.
like the
board members should be filling theirs out by the end of April, so that we have a full May, and so that if there
Yeah.
are people who are tardy, we can stick
then-
somebody on there.
Yeah, so we're gonna then change we're gonna change the executive session to May.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
I
makes some
think-
sense.
Yeah, and as far as goal setting, that's tied to my evaluation, I think the September timeframe makes more sense.
Okay.
You know, just because if we're able to, the nice thing too about having new board members coming on, you know, not in the middle of the year, is that also you can do board goal setting, you know, in August, or as, you know, as we're getting close to the new school year. Right, and then also we've had like our leadership retreat, there's been, you know, staff training and just getting ready for the year, and so it's setting tangible goals at, you know, a few months prior to when the budget cycle starts, like all that kind of thing. I just think the timing probably makes sense.
Is September too busy,
So-
or, but I feel like all the work is done, and September is like when you like put the boat in the river.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I don't know,
Well, I think that's
I feel like
actually,
that's good timing.
Okay,
yeah, and it would actually align with our self-evaluation, so we can maybe hold a workshop where we do both, right?
That'd
We
be great.
cover our self-evaluation and we cover goals, huh?
you're gonna be here forever.
4 hours.
Bring a pillow.
5 hours.
Yeah.
And
We'll-
snacks.
We'll bring food, we'll bring meals, we'll bring, yeah.
Snacks, as long as you've got food.
Yeah, because then we can kind of, to me, it makes sense because you assess where you've been and you then look at where you want to go.
Yeah.
Right, so we're
Yes.
changing, the board and superintendent will meet and set goals and objectives for the next fiscal year, no later than the last business day of September.
Yes.
This is right under
Right
number
here.
4.
Yeah.
Diane's face
And then
is
the
much bigger.
next sentence would be no later
This
than,
is-
no later than during the month of May.
This one, it should be than, not the, no later than the.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then the next one down, that June should be changed to May. The board and
Yeah,
superintendent will meet
yeah,
in
'cause
executive
that-
session, and I
yeah.
think this May was crunched because of the building stuff. So we had all those meetings about the
Oh,
building, which
yeah.
is not gonna be ideally not gonna be an all year thing.
Right, that'll be just, I mean, just. We're all there.
Yes, yes, to that answer.
No later than May, yeah.
It'll be May.
Oh.
And then the rest of it is just sort of what's in it, which I don't think we wanted to change, but. Because we're gonna put a revise at the bottom, we can just read it. The performance evaluation process will include the following components to be conducted in executive session. 1, opportunity for the superintendent to report out on progress and to present a self-evaluation. 2, discussion with board members and the superintendent related to progress, supports, goals, and relationships. 3, opportunity for board members to provide individualized feedback on superintendent performance utilizing the tool agreed to by the board and the
Mhm.
superintendent. Do you want to put in here a date by which we have the tool, which is the rubric, I assume?
Mhm, yeah, that's the assessment.
Or is that just to be part of our May thing? We don't have to put that on policy. I don't think we have to put that on policy. I take that back. The chair will prepare an executive summary. Good
Mhm.
job, Shannon.
Thank
Which will report the overall assessment made by the board, providing such details as to include a concise statement of majority opinions and summarize any minority opinions. The executive summary will be presented to the superintendent by the chair for the purpose of discussion. I know you sent it to him in advance, and I think that's what this means. But we also all did it as a group, which I thought was good.
Yeah, you get both, right?
get
So
both?
like he has a chance to draft any thoughts coming into the executive session and
Yeah.
everybody gets a chance
And
to
I like
share.
that process, because
Yeah.
I like you having the ability to digest it before,
Yeah,
because
so I mean, should, do you wanna put a timeline on it with, you know, at least 7 days or whatever?
I don't think we need to make it hard. I think that can be something worked out between the chair and the superintendent.
Okay.
Then the superintendent will sign the executive summary as the indication that has been received, read, and discussed. If so desired, the superintendent may respond or rebut within 15 calendar days of receipt of the board's executive summary. And in this case, copies of the superintendent's response and rebuttals will be provided to each board member. Copy of the executive summary and the superintendent's comments and rebuttal submitted will be maintained in the official personnel file. And cross references.
Wow, that was last time, in 2013. Oh, wow. 10 minutes. Yeah, this makes more sense, especially if we're aligning with the, but you know, there's
School calendar, it's really nice.
the town councils in some towns are also.
So the form, the format, we would actually want to look at before
In
April.
February, I
Yeah.
think in February,
So let me,
or March.
It's hard coming on the board in November.
Oh, my God.
It's just, you know, all of a
What's
sudden it's like,
happening?
damn, okay, budget.
yeah, because they're starting in the
Hey, we're
middle of
halfway
the
through
school year.
Wait, what's
Yeah.
happening?
What's going on? What am I doing?
Oh, and you're trying to onboard those people, like, you have no idea what's going on,
Okay,
that first year.
Okay, I will send the new ones along for first reading and the old ones along for second reading.
And so. We just have one hanging and we don't, may or may not.
We're way in advance. It's 5:05. We have 25 more minutes. The closing business was just to identify next steps for above policies, assigned tasks to groups. I think we did that kind of in the middle of it.
Yeah.
My two questions is our next meeting date. This was sort of taking the place of July. They didn't know that we could get in before July, so is it feasible to have a July meeting? Or what are your thoughts on that? And then Diane, if you'd be so kind as to guide us as to where we should go next. You don't want me like throwing the dart as a policy.
Yeah, no, we still have some policies that need updating. I was actually looking at our listing earlier today. So there are some categories that we still have highlighted. Compliance changes that we need to make.
Excellent. And where, do you know where those are?
Yep, so if we go back to the
spreadsheet.
listing,
Yeah,
this
Yeah.
listing. Right, so
the April 2020. Oh, yeah, you keep it up there.
only
you
the
have so
yellow
many
ones,
tabs.
right? And actually, I actually updated it today, so.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw that.
We had some things that we had changed at the last meeting. We had 2 more things.
Do you have any suggestions of where to go? Just because you use the policies more than I mean, I could throw a dart at the yellow and find them. So
Well,
like,
there's not that many yellow left.
That's
my
good.
Point,
Yeah,
so.
that's good.
I think that we should.
And we gotta get on that naming of facilities.
we could add that to
Oh,
the next one. We have
let's
plenty of
do that.
space. for it.
So this one is an important one, GB,
Mhm.
ED, staff conduct with students. I would definitely
Yeah, I use this policy in my business.
go to that one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is that something the SEA is gonna, we should really get them an
Staff
extra heads
conduct
up?
with students. That might, really, I think we are kind of nearing the
Wow.
end in terms of being out of compliance.
That's good. We like
We've
to be in
done a lot of hard
compliance.
Work on that. Student code of conduct, the JIC is
Yeah.
in progress,
It's in
but it's
progress.
one that we really have to make sure that we move forward.
Yeah,
Because that's one that's, utilized. And that is it. So that is the
Fantastic.
last yellow one. And so
Great.
then I think as it relates to the other policies, perhaps it would make sense to discuss, should we start looking at the furthest dates that
Yeah.
policies were reviewed?
Sure.
Right, because if we have policies that haven't been reviewed for, again, I haven't looked at that recently, but like to say,
2003. I'm looking at
right,
them
like
right now.
if we haven't, if we haven't looked at a policy in 20 years, we probably should just look at
We
it,
should,
even
yeah.
if it's just to say, hey, we looked at that and
Still
that
good.
It's a
still
good policy.
applies, great, then we put this date on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's, I can certainly do some work in terms of, sorting by date to see where those furthest points are.
If you want to and have time, that would be great. If not, I would just be doing it by letter. I wouldn't like cross-reference them, so I'd go through like the A tab and B tab and C tab. I'd probably count. What I would do is would pick an arbitrary date, 2010.
Yep.
And look at anything before that and then move up and then we can hit them that way.
Yeah.
We should
no.
maybe look for the oldest date.
And I think
Yeah,
that if we
yeah, well,
sort-
I would, it
I
would be
think,
easier.
yeah,
to
you can sort
them.
easy,
Yeah.
and I think that if we prioritized, in terms of just looking at the letters and looked at the ones that were around students, instruction and personnel.
Those are the most.
Those are the big ones
Yeah.
that we seem to hit more often or, or we look to.
Can you think, generate a list of like, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever
Yeah.
policies, and then we can start knocking those out?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
And
Do
that'll
you
be-
wanna invite Mike to come to the next meeting to talk about the naming of facilities?
And the activity fees?
Oh,
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, we can
Yeah, I
get
think he's
both.
the right person for both of those things.
Is there,
He's already done
He's done a lot
a
of.
lot of research.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw it.
Naming.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, good, oh,
And
great.
he has a,
Cause that's
and
what
it's, he has a
I
draft policy.
It's actually kind of, it's really interesting because it's all over the map. Like you would think there would be some kind of pattern as to what policy or procedure you would follow. And like different towns do have different policies, but they are all over.
Once we get our
It's-
policy, we need the town to join with us in the policy.
Yes.
Well, the policy is gonna be, because this is has always been the gray area in Scarborough, we don't own the buildings and
Let's
the fields.
bring it into the light. If we
So,
bring it into
yeah.
the light, what we could, what my suggestion will be to follow his policy. But have our policy be ask the town to approve a naming policy
Yes.
of their own, bring in
Oh,
a couple
mhm.
drafts. And have their draft policy allow the school board to nominate.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
possibilities.
nominate
So
and
we
send
will-
them a recommendation.
So that they can do what they will with it, but that we can be the gatekeepers and that way we
Mhm.
can sort of have that control that we are seeking.
Yeah.
If the town's willing to do that, they might be, they might not be. It will allow them to point to a policy and have rules that they can say are
Right.
evenly applied.
I
But it's something
think
up to them.
this council should be amenable to that. I think it'd be a good time to get that in.
Good, let's do it.
Mhm.
Then that'll be good because it's gonna take a little fancy footwork to get it.
It's like,
put
so
together.
Yeah.
it always kills me. Yeah,
But
they're not ours. Oh,
What is the JICK we put under there, because that was the other one that the A asked for us to consider.
not SCIC, that one came from a town council member, asked us to look at that policy.
And that's very,
That's not
that's
something-
like completely tied in statutory language.
Good.
Hold
That
on,
makes it
I'm pretty
really easy to
sure.
review.
Hang on one second.
That's
I
the
wanna go
bullying
back.
one.
I know, I wanna go back though to our, cause there was a second one then that I'm misremembering that the SEA asked us to look at. I thought it was JICK.
Yeah, what?
Code of conduct one.
That's JIC.
That's why I see that.
There
that's the
was
one.
two. Where's the minutes?
The other one was like.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Hold on.
They wanted us to look at JIC-R, JIC and JIC, no. JIC and JICR, that was the other one. 'Cause this is my
Oh,
notes from
okay.
when she addressed us.
Perfect.
And JICR was updated,
And JICR goes with JIC. to be
right,
aware.
the JICR was updated in 2017. And JICR is not even a required policy. It's in red, like, so on this listing, any policies that are in red are Scarborough generated. They are
Mhm.
not from model policy. They are not from mandated policy or even suggested policy.
My read on it was whatever changes the SCA is looking for in JIC is implicated in JIC-R. That was the logical conclusion of that conversation.
Yeah,
So, but we'll wait to see at the meet and greet what that is. All right, we have about 18 minutes before we have to be somewhere else.
yes, so let's.
The only other thing is the next meeting, what works
Oh,
for folks?
Oh, my God, I don't even know.
Thank you, Diane, for coming up with a list. I could do darts, but
No, that's fine.
there are better ways.
So I can get a new book.
You gonna go with the hard copy on the calendar?
I can't let go. I've tried many times. I'm totally digital at work, but for my house stuff. I'm tracking like my kids' calendars, my calendar, my wife's calendar.
Oh, I know, it's really
This is the
overwhelming.
keeper of all the information. Amazon Basic, so cheap.
There you go.
What about July 17th?
Let's see.
That's a fine day for me.
I'm gone that week.
This is why we scheduled this meeting, because we couldn't get. one in
Yeah, I think July was tough.
That's why that's why we're here today.
Uh,
So we could try to do July or we could move into August.
we get kids like everywhere. Yeah.
What about August 1st?
That's a Tuesday, not traditional day, but I would find with that.
Because that Monday I will be, Monday is when we would typically meet, but I won't be gone. And maybe it's something to think about because Mondays don't work for you historically, because you have school. So maybe. Potentially.
Which is
if we
Tuesday
can.
better?
No.
Yeah.
You can't do it on the first.
Well, because it took me so long to get this dentist appointment.
That's fine. Would, is our Mondays not good for you, Joe?
Historically not, but in the summer it's fine.
Okay, so we can do
what
August
about-
7th.
Oh,
or
I thought
14th,
they were July 31st.
Or July 30, oh, no, July 31st.
Can we do this? No, I can't do July 31st because I'll be coming back. What about that? If we can do it that earlier week, like before Friday, like maybe even the 2nd or the 3rd, that would be better for me.
Okay, I'm open that week,
You said the second or the third?
except for the
Mhm.
3rd, I am in a US attorney's training.
Okay, how about the 2nd?
Second works.
The August,
August 2nd?
sure.
What
We have a
time?
winner.
4 o'clock or 4:30, what works best for people? That's an admin week, so you
I'm
have,
like all
I'm way
over.
more available than I use.
Can we, if you're available, can we push up during the day, Annie?
Absolutely. On this week,
Well,
I
we-
can't, it's an admin week, so there's no court, so I'm very available.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
it's like a golden, if we get 3 golden
Yeah, if
weeks a
we can
year.
like pull up during the workday, that would be good for,
I was gonna say there's a
Yeah, do you wanna do like
building
10
committee
o'clock,
chair check
11 o'clock?
at 3.
at 3.
Do you wanna do
We can do
1,
like right after.
1:30?
Well,
On the 2nd at 3, there's already a building committee.
Yeah, that's what she was saying.
Yeah.
So you wanna do 1:30 to 3, but we could do Zoom if that would be easier for
I
you.
probably,
That, no?
I don't, you know, if I'm teaching,
Oh,
I just don't know if I can get to that.
yeah.
What about the morning?
It's usually like 8 until.
Oh, then yeah, that makes sense. I'm awake earlier than that, but I don't think anyone wants to talk to me.
Who is the PR check-in? Is it an hour scheduled or half
We have
hour?
surgeons. on
Half hour?
Wednesdays.
At 3, yeah.
Could you do 3:30?
Yes,
Would that work for you too? Okay, but when do we need to be done? Because it's still your summer. Is that just an hour then? 3:30 to 4:30? Well, no, because typically we don't do this. We're just trying to stay in compliance. When would you leave for the day during the summer? You two?
2:30.
No.
No, they usually.
Noon o'clock.
yeah,
Why don't we
Yeah,
just try for an hour, 3:30 to 4:30,
Absolutely
Yeah.
fine.
like a hard stop?
Yeah, we do a hard stop.
that would be delightful.
So BOE, and I won't overpack the agenda. BOE. Policy,
Gosh,
Wednesday the
So
2nd, from
already-
3:30 to 4:30.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, and then do you, Jeff, do you invite Mike or Frayla invites Mike?
I can ask Mike.
Okay,
Great. Oh, the owl for the DEI meetings.
oh, yeah.
How do I get the owl for the DEI meetings?
All
If I
right,
can
so
help
are
with
we
that.
closing?
Yeah,
this
closing.
meeting?
Yeah,
I will end the.
Sorry,